Hi, good evening, Skype Flight Stories. Hope you guys are good. I have with me tonight in the studio no other than Yolanda Charles. She joins us once a month and she shares some very valuable information with us about planning for the future and getting our wills in order. And one of the things in our communities also that we look at nowadays that we face is many moms lose their husbands, and there's a lot of pressure on them. And because it's Women's Month, we have come up with a program for you guys where Yolanda will speak to you guys and give you advice, as a woman, how to prepare yourself. And I also want to say thank you very much to all of you guys who contacted Yolanda and made appointments to get your wills. That's amazing. That means that we have less people in our community that don't have wills, and that is the goal of this program, is to make sure that you guys are sorted and that you are looked after should something happen to you. I'm gonna give over to Yolanda, and she will chat with you guys about your wills and stuff. Hi, Yolanda. Welcome, welcome.
Stan. Thank you, Stan. Thank you again. With humility, I just greet everybody this evening in Cape Flat at the Cape Flat Story chapter, I want to say. And yes, it is Women's Month. And I think the focus for me this evening is really to speak about some of the things that women have to deal with, but more importantly, how to navigate their way through some of these curveballs that they get served, and where sometimes, for the best of plans and best of intentions, the best made plans and things don't turn out in the way that you've actually planned for it to turn out, and in particular around the world. But more importantly, I think my focus this evening is going to be really on those single mothers. And I think just there's almost a scourge in communities at the moment where it's not about unemployment, it's not about not having money, it's not about not having, it's just where a woman finds herself in a situation being a single parent in a single home, for whatever reason, and where somebody else, you rely on someone else to take accountability for, in terms of the leadership in that home, and you find that that is missing. There's no leadership there. In that, for example, if I were married, I had a husband that's gone away to go and work. He goes to earn his daily living, and as a single mom, or sorry, as a mom at home, a stay-at-home mom, she's at home either looking after kids, keeping the house clean, keeping things in order at home. But more than that, it's not just your ideal typical housewife. It's not just you at home to look after the kids, and you having to feed the family and see that the laundry is done, etc. The role of the mother at home is a mother at home is much more complicated than that. And sometimes we have cases where I don't think women are valued to the extent for the role that they actually play. And albeit in this example that I'm using here, a stay-at-home mother, part of her function at home is also, but also this is it could be a two-way street where, as a family, a husband and wife, as a collective, they sit down and they speak about finances, and they have those type of general conversations where sometimes by default it becomes either the husband's responsibility, but in other cases it becomes the wife's responsibility, because somebody has strength in one field, in terms of managing the money. One is better at that, one is better at managing the household, and sometimes the person that's better, and I'm not for any by any stretch of your imagination saying that husbands at work cannot manage their homes, and they do not do this. However, what I'm saying is that where a mom is left home to look after the house, the husband goes to do work, focuses on work, he doesn't necessarily just, he doesn't want to be disturbed perhaps with all the smaller things. Sometimes people think it's menial stuff that the wife does at home there. However, there's a saying that goes, women hold up half the sky. And having said that, it's almost a full-time job. Having been there myself, it's a full-time job. You're not just managing a baby, managing kids, managing the household, managing food, going to do the shopping. going to clean up, making sure that the kids are fetched at school, taken to school, and being mom's taxi, etc. One of the other things is, and sometimes an area that is neglected is the financial area in the family's home. And so, because not enough attention is given, or conversation, or discussion in the home, perhaps as an item that needs to be focused on in terms of the finances, it's kind of glossed over, and people are, you're either making do and you do it the way you want to do it, and everybody's got a different way of dealing with it. It could be finance, but everybody deals with it differently. So, having said that, it's also a very gray area where in some homes, money is like the best kept secret. Nobody wants to talk about finances. They say that two reasons why couples fight in the main is over money, and there's another three-letter word they would fight about. But money is right on the top of the list in terms of finances, because they disagree, or there's not enough, or I thought you were going to take care of this and you didn't, and now we are sitting in this dilemma. And life goes on, and before you know it, years have passed, and still these main issues haven't been addressed. One of them being, i.e., your will. Your will, and most of the time, whether you want to like it or not, if it's not spoken about, it does not mean it doesn't affect you, and it doesn't mean it ain't going to happen. And I think for me, raising this right now, best we get as women that we get to find our voices, to be able to have those tough, difficult conversations with a spouse, with in the case of single women that are raising families today. That single women could be by death, it could be by divorce, it could be through many circumstances, an accident that's happened, and you as a woman now, you have to stare this situation in the face, and you haven't made the necessary provision, the necessary arrangements to be able to navigate this way or see a way clear when it comes to a point of where somebody has passed on. Either in the case of a household, like I've explained now, the dad dies, the mother sits with a big box of toys, so to speak, that needs to be sorted out. The mom, single mom, dad doesn't live with you anymore, dad passes on, you are sit with her, they say in Afrikaans, jy sit met die gelag. How do you sort this out? But more than that, how do you prevent this from happening, to make sure that, if anything, I'm going to go back to a conversation that I had last month where we spoke about the will file. Not the will file, the life file. First up, I'm going to say, get into the habit of getting your things in order. Part of having things in order is to have the life file. I'm not going to go into that life file right now. But if anything happens, best to be prepared. So as a woman, it's not just about doing the A, B's, and C's in terms of running the household, making sure the kids are fed, making sure that things happen in the home. It's also a very crucial, critical part of your life as a mom, to make sure that necessary plans are put in place in order to ensure that there's a smooth flowing of procedures if anything happens, anything untoward happens with any person, with you, with your husband, with your ex, in the event of death, to make sure that the kids, yourself, that stays behind or that is left to manage life. And at the moment, I want to say that today has been a sad day for me, because, I said it was like a killjoy, because this morning, very early, I put on my phone. I got into the habit now of not switching my phone on during the night and to check what's going on, because it's just very disturbing in terms of sometimes the news that you get on this phone. Just pick up the phone this morning, 8 o'clock. As I start my day, I've lost 4 of my friends. 4 people, very good, established, long-standing relationships, that I come to find out that all 4 of them have passed on of COVID. And fortunately, they have made the necessary arrangements in terms of having a will put in place, because now the process after that, it is really, it's an easy peasy, seamless process. It's not it's not a process that happens very quickly. I can tell you to wind up an estate. The issue is there is a will. Everyone knows in terms of that household, when the will is read, 2 weeks later, they normally, within 2 weeks, your death needs to have been registered at the masters. But rest assured that if the will is in place, within 2 weeks at least, that will hopefully come out. And then when the will is read, you then are in a position to make sure that whatever the wishes are of that particular person that's passed on, that it actually happens. If there's no will, and in this case here, I've got 4 of them that's passed on, and what I'm trying to get to is one sits here and says, oh, it's never going to happen to me, we'd be very, I think we'd be very short-sighted to say it ain't going to happen to me. I read an article recently, and what truth there is in it, in fact, a few minutes ago, where just around COVID, for example, COVID has happened and it's on the go. It's going on for almost 2 years now. And I think more and more we'll see people falling over around COVID within 24 hours. I mean, I just got 4 notifications. And what is it that I do to make sure that I don't get a call to say that, you know what, this person doesn't have a will, what now? There's no money to bury. There's no money. There's no access to this money. There's no access. My husband's made provision, but there's no access for us to get access to the money for the burial, for the A, B's, and C's that needs to happen. And for how difficult life becomes after you are not there, after the husband's not there, after the father's passed on, or even the wife has passed on. There is a lot of difficulty that could have been prevented if only you had made provision in the form of a will. What I'm trying to get to in terms of a wife, the role of a wife, yes, we are at home, but that does not mean that we do not form part of that financial conversation. And I'd like to draw your attention to making sure that in future, if in the past you didn't know and you didn't know where to go and you don't know how to do it, if that was the legacy of the past, I think we have a responsibility towards ourselves, because you have the knowledge now, to make sure that you get that very important document, that very important step that helps your house tick over seamlessly. Yes, you're going to miss the person that's not there anymore, but you're not adding any more woes to already a difficult situation. It makes life a hell of a lot easier, a whole lot easier for you as a mom that had to take care of all of these things in terms of making sure that there's continuity in the household. It makes life a whole lot easier should you be in a situation of where something, your partner, your loved one, your children's dad has passed away, and it makes life a whole lot easier. And what I'd really like to do is, I'm absolutely inviting you, and yes, Stan, thank you. I want to thank Cape Flat Stories for the number of people, the numerous people that have reached out to me in terms of, can you answer a question? Can you ask? Can they ask me something? Do I know X, Y, and Z? And what I can absolutely give you my word is that if I do not know the answer, I will come back to you, and separately under separate cover, and sometimes it would be in the live stream, just the thread that follows as we are busy going through the evening. For some of the questions that people want to know answers to, etc., I do make an effort to after the show answer those questions. But yes, please ask as many questions, because in the questioning in the questions that you ask, one gets a grip on where your understandings at. But you know what? There's really no excuse for not knowing. I want to say there is. Yes, you can at one point say that I didn't know. I didn't. Nobody told me. I want to say to you that tonight, Cape Flat Stories tonight, and every other first Thursday night, If there's any question that you want to know pertinent to your own life, I can rest assured tell you that you may be sitting with a question, afraid to ask the question, but there may be 10 other people in the room sitting with exactly the same question that needs that answer. So please have courage to ask the question because it also guides where our conversation goes. My focus is to talk about the single ladies, the single ladies, the married women, but just around financial leadership that you exercise in your home simply as I want to say, they talk about the new world order, simply the way you're going to do things as you move forward. And I'd like to get to a point of where if you make the decision that yes, there's a certain few things that needs to be put in place, few ducks in a row, and there's things that I don't know. I urge you really to reach out, put your hand up, and say, I don't know, I don't understand, and can you help me? I'm absolutely available, and that's what I said on my the last communication to Stan was, I'm absolutely available between 7 to 9, and I think one of my last uh, maybe 2 or so previous weeks ago, even up until 10 in the evening, to sit and engage clients around what the world conversation looks like for you. And each person's conversation is not a one size fits all. It's definitely not that way. And I don't think that in any event I'm going to ever treat you like a one size fits all and you are just a number and you are just somebody that comes from Cape Flats story and now it's the same story all over again. It's absolutely not. You have the right to a decent, unique conversation. At the end of the day, whatever the way forward is in that conversation, that is a decision that you entirely take. And if that's part of the conversation you need to share with your wife, with your husband, and yes, it's difficult. I could even teach you how to train you how to facilitate the conversation if you didn't know how to. But have the conversation because I can assure you, not having the conversation is not going to make it go away. It will not make it go away. And as I want to say, life is short. Deaths are happening all the time. It is like almost a bumper season it's really a negative statement that I'm making, but it's a bumper season for how people are. You're here today and gone tomorrow. Life is that short. It really is that short. I had my first client that I was invited to complete their will. And I think I'm saddened by by the mentality of some of us, where something as important as a will, you have made an appointment with me to see me, and you decide to have a hearty party with your friends, and a month later you drop dead in your kitchen. And now the wife is left to sort out the whole caboodle where he found me for him to come and speak to him with regards to his will, his estate, and what it is that he needs. And I think life is teaching me too that maybe I need to, what shall I say, become a bit more bullish about this will situation because unless we're going to tackle it, it's not going to change. It's like the scourge of many things. And maybe the will is a small thing a small thing, but is it really? I know there are other things you're going to tell me. There's bigger fish to fry. There's gangsterism. There's unemployment. There is drugs. There's many things that we are riddled with. But why do we have to perpetuate the ills of the past where we can make life better for ourselves going forward? And simply, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, I've been through my own journey in terms of being a single woman. And I think I have a passion for that, where I won't mind to take you by the hand and give you all the guiding steps that you need to be able to purchase your home, sell your home, make sure that you get the necessary services to your home, but more importantly, from a financial planning perspective, to sit with any person that is willing to walk that journey, whatever it is, just from an information perspective, to walk that journey with that person to a point of where they can take care of themselves. And I'm not for any reason saying that I have all the answers, I know it all, and I'm perfect at whatever I'm doing. Right now, I can tell you there's been huge learning, staying even for me, knowing and having the knowledge that I have, but just the experiences that I've already have with some of the people out of the communities where they've opened their homes to me with not knowing me from a bar of soap, and we've engaged and we've had conversations. And I think a relationship of trust and one of integrity that I aim to build with this community in terms of Cape Flats. I come from the Cape Flats historically myself. I spent quite a while in my younger days over there. And where did I come on this idea about speaking to everybody about wills? I go back to it again. I grew up in a financial institution, in a financial environment, and here I am, not to beat my own trumpet, it's just to expose some of the things that we talk about behind closed doors coming to the bank, and the challenges that you and I, people, women come in there and sit with at the end of the day. And we have to navigate a very difficult path with that mother, with a single parent, when those plans and steps haven't been taken. And at the end of the day, who's at the receiving end of the impacts of it? It's our kids, it's our children. Our children don't have food. Our children haven't got school uniforms. Our children have to wait for a year before they have access to the father's pension fund. It is just a horrible, horrendous story. And you know what? If we can, as a collective, household by household, Stan, you mentioned it in the very first household, the very first meeting that we had, and we didn't quite understand how this journey would unfold. But for me, it's like the picture is getting clearer. There's definitely a need in the community. There isn't sometimes a shortage of knowledge even. It's just about taking that step and putting your hand up and saying, you know what, I need help. Just help me with where I need to go, how I need to do. And yes, some people are maybe a bit suspicious about me and my real purpose of what I'm sitting on the Cape Flats stories for. But I can assure you, at the end of the day, everything does cost money. But at the end of the day, it does not have to. It's going to cost you a whole lot more if you don't put your will in place, if you don't make those arrangements. And I'd really like to reach out and urge you, as a single woman, as a single mother, as a mother of your household, albeit a joint household, is to put up your hand and go and tap husband on the shoulder and tap the main players in your home on the shoulder and say, hold on a minute, are we set up here for a disaster like this? If anything changes, what is going to be the consequences for all of us here? What is the ripple effect that's going to take place here? And some of those things are going to be, I almost want to say, hell to play with, because again, what is the reason that you're having this conversation, Landy? It's everything costs money. But at the end of the day, would you rather protect the little that you have, or lose the little that we have by being ignorant and not taking action? And I'd really like to get to a point of where we see more and more one client, one household, one person at a time take advantage, I want to say in a good way, of my time that I've made available. And I can tell you that the calendar fills up very fast in terms of the conversations that we're having. And there is a whole lot of options. And like they say, there's many ways to skill a cat. But make sure mommies, single mothers in particular, because already we have, I mentioned earlier that the single mothers deal with so much. And if you, when I say deal with so much, I don't want to add some of the dynamics that happen post you going through a divorce, or losing a spouse, or losing a boyfriend that's decided to go on to greener pastures, and you sitting with a child, two kids that you are having to fend for, where previously he was committed to the relationship, committed to the children, and now have abandoned the kids for moving on in life and left you with a whole sack patats. There's a plan even that you can put in place. So there, in as much as maybe you may have been left destitute, I can tell you there is still hope. There is still something that you can do to try and alter what the end result, or alter what the ramifications are going to be for you as a family unit, albeit the single family unit, for not having made arrangements for a will and to make sure that that thing is put in place. I invite you again, 7 to 9 in the evening. Book your appointment, and if there's time available, we can prioritize you in terms of in the form of a calendar. A calendar, and I'm not charging you for my time. I can assure you that I haven't charged anybody for my time. The time that I spend there, the time that I spend to do your will, I do not charge you for because it's a complimentary service. However, everybody's, like I said, your conversation is a personal conversation. Everybody's cost at the end of their life is a figure that sometimes you don't want to stare in the face, but it's that at the end of the day that could be that easy or that simple if you decide to have your conversation. So I want to say it's almost like the vaccine. Everybody needs to have the vaccine, but there are two trains of thought about having a vaccine or not having a vaccine. I can tell you now, everybody, if you have property, if you have assets, everybody needs a will. It's not, you don't not want to have one, you need one. It's just how and what needs to happen at that point in time that is going to be a conversation that is specific to you. I just want to bottom line tell you, please make the time, make the appointment. If you're not prepared to speak to me, find somebody that deals with wills, but go and sort your will out. Thank you for now. I don't know if we want to take some questions from the audience. I haven't seen any of the questions, but I'd really like us to engage some of the audience around what are the things that's bothering Cape Flats tonight around wills. I want to hear. Maybe take 3, 4 questions, and I just want to do a time check. Right, we are at 20:36. Thank you, Stan.
Yes. Okay, thanks, guys. If there's any questions, please, Yolanda is with us. She is available. Ask her the questions. Don't be afraid. Type a comment. I will read it out. I think, Yolanda, you've mentioned something very, very important, very crucial. With single mothers, like if the mother pass away, the children stay behind. Let's say the children are quite young,
Absolutely.
and that
Thank
can
you for
happen.
raising.
That
Thank
can
you for
happen.
raising.
So if a mother can make a will out to see that the children don't go to a foster home, lose everything. I think that is a big concern because the husband passed away, but now it doesn't mean that the mother's gonna stay. We don't know. In this day and age, we don't know how long we have to live. I don't know how long I have to live. In the last 3, 4 weeks, every week we've buried someone that is related to us, young, old. This time that we're living in, we are uncertain about how long we have to live, and I think for single mothers, this is an ideal time to engage as well.
Yeah, I want to thank you for raising that, Stan. As a single mom myself, it was always a concern of mine that if anything happened to me during the night, would my kids know what to do? I will just highlight that live file again. And does somebody in your household know where that live file is? And you know what the live file is that I'm referring to? It's your live file of important documents, IDs, wills, policy documents. If you have property, your title deeds, if the bank is not holding it, all your important birth certificates of your kids. Does somebody know where to find that? But further to that, the reason why you would have a will is going to make sure that you protect your minor children. Your minor children, they cannot speak for themselves. And you mentioned about going into foster care and foster homes because moms haven't dad passed away, mom passed away. Now the kids, 4 years old, 5 years old, are left destitute because they never had a will, and nobody can speak for them. Nobody's going to be able to resolve anything until those kids reach the age of 18 years old. And then they've got a journey that they're going to walk because the parents died intestate. They are going to have to walk that journey. No guardians have been appointed for these children. What happens to these children? Who's going to feed them? Who's going to clothe them? Yes, our community is also very good in taking, we're an aunt or a grandmother has the heart to take these children in. But where, for example, children have become accustomed to a certain way of life, The financial pressure is now placed on somebody else, a grandmother that is living off a government pension. Heaven forbid they need to look after three, four kids at the end of the day. What is the quality of life for your children going to be when you're not there any longer? And if I look at myself, having worked, having had a very good career, 20 years, 30 years, and I could leave something to my kids, but I didn't fill in the documents, I didn't fill in the forms. My kids, if they're minor children, yes, I want to say, what kind of a life are they going to lead? And thank heavens, that hasn't been my story. But what I see in the communities is mom, grandmother needs to take in these children. The children needs to go through to school. There's no money for uniforms. There's no money for food. The children are left um, to the care or in the care of the grandparents. And reasonably, what does one expect Granny to now do with these three children when she herself is living off a government pension? Yet, if you took the time and the trouble to make sure that you put that will in place, to mention that there's a guardian, to make sure that you are working at the company that you are working for, that they know if anything happens to your children, whatever money you've accumulated there in the form of a pension or the form of investments, it could be your group life insurance for that matter, that you have made the necessary arrangements in terms of your will to make sure that these kids' financial future is protected and that you've at least appointed a guardian. I'm going to tell you again, there was an article on News 24, and it's an article that's very dear to my heart because I feel very passionately about single moms and especially those dads, what do they call them, baby daddies that haven't showed up for these children and now they want to show up because mom's passed on and mom left the boodle there. Mom left the boodle, now they all of a sudden want to be daddies all over again in terms of taking responsibility. Why? Because all of a sudden these kids have come onto money. You as the mom have the responsibility to protect your children against hungry wolves. I'm really telling you now. And I'm not painting everybody with the same brush. Believe you me, make sure that this doesn't happen in your circle there. And as much as I'm saying in your circle, I put that finger to my chest as well. Make sure that you do not allow your child's wealth, your child's inheritance to be handed over to somebody that is not going to be responsible about my child's future. And the best way to do it is to protect it in the form of a will. And the example that I'm referring to is that young boy, 5 years old. There was a huge debacle that went wrong at one of the major hospitals in terms of at the child's birth, and a huge case on. I know the extent of the damages was 15 million rand. No will. And then baby daddy shows up. But grandma fought that matter for that child. So a guardian was appointed by the state and they will manage the affairs of this young child of 5 years old that is disabled. Fortunately, they were able to save the day for their child. But what about the many, many others that do not have the luxury of 15 million coming to them? But you may have a pension that you've worked so hard for at work, that you've accumulated. You may have worked and have a group life insurance that is available at work, and you didn't make sure that this thing is protected for your children. And life is very tough, but we don't have to make it tougher for ourselves, really. The information is there, the people are there to help you. Take off the time, make the time, put that time aside, respect yourself enough as a woman to make sure that you give to yourself the things that you need, and one of the things that you need really, however you look at it, go and get yourself that document. Make sure that you get it. I don't want to say I'm going to beg you. I don't have to beg you because you can decide what you want to do. At the end of the day, it's your life. Please decide to have a will. Get it sorted. Make sure that it's in place and you move on to the next thing. Don't make your life harder than it is. It's hard already. Being unemployed, not having the support as a single mom for a dad that's not supporting their children, and now you want to add to your own problems. Do not allow that to happen. And again, I qualify the question. I'm not here to badmouth dads that are not supporting baby daddies. There could be very many different reasons why they're not doing it. However, for the most part, for the ones that's not doing it and should be doing it and haven't done it, don't make life harder for yourself as a mom. Have a heart for these children at least. Thank you, Stan.
Yes, you mentioned something there that actually spoke to a friend of mine in the week, and this friend of mine said to me, and we always joke about this. He said to me, Stan, if I should die, if I should die, my wife would have money for a new husband, and even she will have money for my old. Will be able to have my old clothes as well. And now we joke about this, but what if it do happen? What if it do happen? How can you protect this? Because that man coming into your life, or that woman coming into the life of your children, that might just be somebody that are just there for the money. So we need to protect them. Because let's say, like you said, there's a 20 million rand or a pension fund that is laying there. It will be obviously accessible, you know, by the new person in the relationship.
Oh, I think that is probably a conversation for another date, Stan, and I don't want to say I don't want to go there, but I can tell you, ladies, the harsh reality is, and Stan, maybe you have knowledge of it at another level, but I have an appointment that I'm seeing somebody on Monday. Oh, my Lord. Someone that married somebody that, yes, as a single woman, we go and we get involved with a love affair. We are over the moon in love with the person, and we come to find out that it wasn't being over me or being in love with me or the woman. It was they have had knowledge of the fact that you are actually onto some money over there, and no sooner have you received the money and spent the money, and then the relationship is also gone. And then you, as that person that received that money, if I'm understanding you correctly, the monies, the monies that you've received has been used or abused even at that rate, and not dealt with in the appropriate manner. I want to say that I'm totally befuddled when it comes to that. It happens, but how do you protect it in terms of a will? It's also at the end of the day, um, you don't want to rule from the grave. So as a man or as a woman for that matter, yes, I'm giving you the will and you're getting money to get another husband or another wife. We cannot rule from the grave. But in those cases, if it is that somebody wants to, there's many ways to skin a cat and many ways to structure a will at that. If you needed to specifically make sure that that is what you want to sort of prevent happening and so that the children are not disadvantaged, there's different ways to structure the will. But the important point to note, Stan, is it happens, it's happened, it's going to happen in the future. But what is it that we can do to prevent that from happening? There is a way to deal with it, and that can be dealt with in the will. But also sometimes, like I say, we clients tend to refer to it as ruling from the grave. You cannot rule from the grave, and there's some places that yes, you cannot put it into your will, but there are things like trusts, a widow's trust, a provider's trust, to make sure that if in that case you have a feeling like that, at the end of the day, being married to somebody and the way you are married, that is how your will is going to be structured and governed because of the marital laws of the country. So, as I said, a conversation was probably a topic on its own for another day of how that can be done and where possibly we need to go through some of the steps that you need to follow when structuring a will, to make sure that that doesn't happen, but if it does happen, that there's some preventative steps that have been put in place to make sure that for the better part, if the person decides to move on in life, like if I was married, my husband passed on and I want to get married again, that my assets at least are protected. But like I say, it's happened in the past, it happens today, and it's still going to happen in the future because we, as people, we just don't learn. We just don't learn. And once until it happens to you, then you're going to learn the lesson. So it can be you can protect yourself in that world, but unfortunately, we're not going to stop the next case from happening. It's not going to stop unless we make a change and put, like you say, put your foot down and feel the difference. Thank you, Stan.
Okay. Thank you so much. I see there's no questions. Let's come. But they can contact you. I'm gonna say Yolanda's number here, and I also have picked up people are a bit shy to talk about wills when it comes to that because people feel that I don't have a will, so I don't want to ask questions. So the people it's like having a medical aid. People talk about it.
I'm going to give you some stats now, Stan, just in terms of the numbers. From a company perspective, 75% of the South African population does not have a will. So if you
Only
take that number at that level
mhm.
and you apply that number to the group of people you are speaking to,
Yeah,
25% of everybody listening here tonight
yeah,
has got a will. The rest don't have.
and it's quite a big number from
And it is
283,000
very,
people.
very scary. It is scary.
Mhm,
Um, at the moment, those are the stats. Why
mhm,
don't people want wills? Maybe we don't want to talk about death. Nobody
mhm.
wants to talk about death, but it's going to come to our door. It's coming
That's
to our
right.
door faster, sooner than later. But let's be prepared to the best of our ability.
Okay. Thank you so much, Yolanda. I have put your contact number on here. It's 021
Yes, thank you, Sam. I mean, at
1279.
the end of the day, ask as many questions. I don't mind. People have been sending me messages on Messenger. I am on WhatsApp as well. You're able
Mhm.
to WhatsApp me just a short question, one liner. If it's going to be something I need to come back to you, if it's going to take a long time, I make an appointment to speak to you, either via WhatsApp, via Zoom, via video call. I mean, there's so many channels available at the moment, including face to face
Yeah.
in a home type of environment, even at this point in time. But
Mhm.
mostly we are moving towards a virtual environment now, where we need to get better at how we do things and how we deal with things. But
Yeah.
there really is no excuse why you can't have a will,
There
really.
is.
But
Yeah.
please, I encourage you to ask questions. The more questions you ask, the more you're going to enlighten yourself, the more knowledge you're going to gain. But please do not be scared about making an application for a will. Do the will, get it done. It's done and dusted. The
Yeah.
service that I offer, we do your will, done and dusted. You can update it once, twice a year. And the will is a complimentary document. I'm not charging you 300 Rand for your will or 1,000 Rand to draft your will, like some companies or attorney companies charge you. But when we speak about what your costs are going to be at the end of the day to transfer your property, to deal with your executors, then yes, that's going to be a conversation that will be styled for you and you will get to know that. But also at the end of the day, you know what? Ask anybody if I pressured you into taking anything from me. I'll be damned if I'm forcing you to do anything. I'm just giving you the information, I give you the options. You, my dear, will have to live with yourself when you haven't made that decision.
Mhm.
Or you are going to be the beneficiary of the good thing that you put in place and you don't have to worry. And your family is taken care of and you did what you needed to do. Because that is also part of your responsibility as the head of your home, the leader in your home,
Yeah.
doing the right thing by your kids, doing the right thing by your wife, the wife holding the fort at home, but also then prioritizing this for a conversation when your husband comes home in your quiet time. Pull him aside and say, honey, can we speak about this? What is it that we want to speak about? I saw this topic on TV. Maybe we don't know how to have these conversations anymore because we're so tired when we get home from work. I tell you, please make the time. It's going to be worth it in the long run. Absolutely worth it. Thank you for your time, Stan, and for the
Thank you.
platform. And
Thank you.
I don't know any last closing words that you have of wisdom for us.
Wisdom, I'm not the clever
Wisdom,
guy,
I'm not the clever guy. No, but you're
but
doing good work, great work in the community. for being a voice there in the community to raise these issues, or being a platform where people can air their views and channel it in a responsible manner. We don't always
Yeah,
agree with everything that everybody says,
that's right.
but it's a platform where you're getting the conversation going, and hopefully people are going to take action at the end of the day, positive action, to help alleviate the plight of some of the things that you're talking about.
Yeah, and you are so right, Yolanda. We must talk about things like this because it's not that popular topics, but this is the things that is keeping us back from prospering in life, from living a stressful life. This also adds to our stress, you know. So we need to talk about this type of topics. So thank you so much for you that make yourself available. You could have done something else, but this is definitely to help out people. And guys, if you want, all our conversations are recorded on YouTube. So go look on YouTube. There is a few other. I think there's two more that we did with Yolanda. Very informative, guys. You wanna go check it out, and we will continue this conversation. And you guys need to contact her. Her number is on the screen. A cell phone number as well as a home number, a land number, and let's get the walls in order. Let's make the 25%, 26%, 27. Let's get it to 80%. And it is possible. You just need to take your time, go make time with Yolanda or anybody in your area, and get your will. But Yolanda, thank you so much. It's much appreciated.
Thank you, Stan. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you, Yolanda. Guys, that was
Thank you.
Yolanda, and you guys are welcome to contact her anytime. She is available. Teresa, which area is she? She's currently in Gurut, I believe. So if you want to contact her, you can contact her there. On her number, she can do a Zoom chat with you guys. But let's change the 25%. The reason why I want to have this on my platform is ek het gesien die mense sukkel as die pa doodgaan of die ma doodgaan. Ek het hy gesien. And it puts a lot of stress on the rest of the family. It puts a lot of stress on the children. Ek het nie ma nie, ek het nie pa nie. You don't. Jy wil nie jou kinders moet beskaam staan nie. That this is the least that you can do for them is to get a will in place. So guys, please contact her. She will come out to you if that is the case. But guys, you want to have a will. Ons kan nie sê we don't have the opportunity. That's why we create this platform so that we can teach you guys and tell you guys more about wills. And it don't have to only be with Yolanda. It can be with anybody else that you trust, but make sure. A lot of times people do things for free, but the day when you die, they take your whole estate from you or half of your estate. So be careful who you do sign with, and make sure that you do your homework before you get a will from anybody. I want to invite you guys in the next couple of minutes back here. We might have a little discussion. But for now, thank you very much, and thank you for joining. And please share this stream and get your will. It's the right thing to do. Cheers, guys.